Angels episode of Love in the Streets with boys and girls. So, what is this show about? What am I going to be talking about? Well, my friends, my topics that I'm going to cover today are boys. Let's see, let me get a pen here. I'll write this down. That one doesn't work. I'm gonna write down here. Boys. Okay. And over here on the other side, I'm gonna write girls. So, what is it about boys and girls that we are so interested in? Well, obviously, boys and girls grow up to be, and convert that to men and women. Okay. So, let's take a look at some of the differences between these two changes. So, what happens when boy goes to man? Well, first off, I know there's a fly in the room in this place. Let me just start by saying that boys are kids. Fly is somewhere. One second. So, we said boys are kids. Okay. Cool. What about girls? They're also kids. Alright. Now, let me ask you a question. Why is a kid a kid? What does a kid do and what does a kid not do? That's my question. Kids play. What do kids not do? They don't work. Same thing goes for boys and girls. If that's what kids are, then what about men? And what about women? So then, let's do that. Okay. So, we're looking at here, I'll give you guys a look at what I've got so far. So there it is, as you can see there. Anyways, let's keep on going. Let's see what we find here. Now, if women and men are adults, adults. Oh, there's another fly. Man, these flies. So tell me something else about men and women. Well, it seems like I'm kind of talking to myself here, but I'm setting up a question and then giving the response. So the response to that would be, besides working and playing, what do men and women do? Well, that's about it. Okay, so that's about it, right? Okay? So there's the answer. That's it. They don't do anything else. Now, what could they do? Well, and sometimes they do. They could make art to talk about how they feel. But that kind of falls under the play category. So we won't count it. So, very simple. They work or play. Now, what about eating, nurturing, and all that stuff? What about love? And what about food and shelter and all that stuff? Well, a man and a woman could probably do either one of those, but could they do it together, and could it help them to do it together? Well, let's see what they do. They either work or play. So would the food, shelter, all these things that you need in life, if you need food, you need shelter, let's write this down. You need food, shelter, and water. The water is kind of food, so let's cross that out. Food and shelter. That's pretty much it. Okay. Now what about other things? You need love. Food, shelter, and love. Alright, so we got 3 things that we need to be a human. Alright, so we got our 3 things. Now what do we do with this? We say, okay, why are the adults working in the first place? Well, or why do they do that? Because they need these things. And the play is just nonsense they do for entertainment, right? So, stay with me, guys. This is important. So, I'm writing this down. Why do they play? Why do they play? Maybe the answer to that could be because they want to play so they can learn how to work. You know? That could be an answer. It's a possibility. They want to play so they can learn to work. Not a bad answer. So if we go by that logic, right? If they want to play to work, okay? So then, essentially, they're playing so they can work, right? And then if they work, what happens then? Then they get their food, shelter, and love. So, with that said, what is the difference between the play for boys and girls versus the play for men and women? Well, sometimes men and women play more extreme and more serious stuff, because you get serious as you get older. Because time goes by and you start being more serious. Just kind of how it is. But anyways, as you get older, wiser, you might not want to play the same games. You may want to do the same kind of actions. For example, sometimes men go race a car. Well, they do that when they're little, but with a toy car. So it's more serious because you could die in the car versus the little car. You can't really, there's no risk factor. Okay, it's more serious. But that makes more sense because they're doing it so when they go to work, they'll be fine. They'll get what they need, right? Because this is practice. They're practicing when they're driving to the grocery store, when they're driving to see the person that gives them love, or they're giving themselves love, or they're going to their shelter, or they're going to and from their shelter to get food or love. That's the type of thing that we're talking about. Okay, so that's an example. It could be applied to many different situations. Now let's look at the woman. So what do women play? Well, sometimes they play with dolls, and dolls are basically they get to control somebody. They get to control and act out something. So versus in real life, they get to act in a movie. They get to control. Maybe they want to be or a teacher. A teacher controls somebody. A teacher teaches. So they're still being like the doll. It's like playing the doll. Like, here's your student, your pupil. You're the teacher, right? So you're kind of pulling the strings, the little pupil, the little puppet. And then you're playing the doll, You're playing with the doll, right? So what am I saying here? I'm saying that they play with dolls and they control the doll, and then they grow up, they become teachers, and they control the student. It becomes a new doll, right? But it's also, if you look at what a teacher is doing, a teacher is nurturing the student. What is they doing with the doll? They're giving it food. They're taking care of it. So how do girls play? They are nurturing, which is love. Okay? So what have we noticed? Men play with cars, then they get stuff, and women play with dolls, they nurture stuff. So let's write that down. Let's write by on our chart here. So we'll get circle here, food and shelter, and we'll box in love. We'll give love to the woman, okay? And then we'll give food to man. Now, what about shelter? Because obviously men use the shelter to go back and forth, but also the woman needs love to nurture. And when I say men need shelter to go back and forth, they need to go back and forth, like to go get their food and then bring it back to the shelter, right? So they go back and forth. And what about the woman? They have love, right? But they get love because they nurture, and that's love. Now shelter, they both, there's a doll house for the doll, and there's a garage for the car, right? So they both use the shelter. So I'm gonna write down here, also a box over shelter. So they both get shelter. So we're gonna write here, shelter goes to women, and it goes to men. Alright, so this is what we got so far. This is what we got so far. Now,